Hello everyone, welcome to this session on playing with Git and GitHub, driving towards the center. So this session is being organized by Developer Student Club Kite. We are a community of developers who loves to learn, share and code together. You can find more about us on daisykite.com. A bit about myself, my name is Ritik Srivastav. I am a core team member at Daisykite and a full stack developer. You can find me over the web with RitikSR25. So let's start the session with this agenda. So today we are going to create a new repository from starting. We will explore demo of a typical Git working using all the commands that are commonly used in a Git repository. We will explore various Git workflows that are available and used by organizations. We will then explore various features of GitHub. So let's get started. So before starting, this session pre-assumes some requirements like you must have a working knowledge of core concepts of Git, and you must have environment setup like you have Git installed and configured in your system. You have an account on github.com and text editor ready. So if you are not having any of these, feel free to watch the previous video of previous session of our series where we discussed all about the Git basics. So let's get started. So first we are going to create a new repository. So creating a new repository in Git has a couple of methods. So first we are going to use the git init method. In this case, what happens? We create a repository on our local, and again we create another repository on our remote, that is GitHub. And then later we connect both of these by adding the address of our remote to our local repository. So let's see how to do that. So first one command we have to use in our local to git init to initialize a new repository in our local, and later we will add the remote of GitHub to our local. So first let's create a repository on our github.com. So we'll go to GitHub. We will sign in. After signing in, we will see here two icons where we can create a new repository. First one is here, you can click this new button, and under you will find here a plus icon. You can go here and click new repository. So this is the starting for new repository. So let's type here our name of the repository. So let's say it as playing with GitHub, or call it playing with Git. Here you can choose the privacy of your repository, whether it will be public or private repository. If it is a public, it can be viewed by anyone, or if it's private, only you and your collaborators can view. So let's make it public for now. Here you can enter the optional description. GitHub provides these features. You can add a readme file, you can add a .gitignore file, or choose a license. We will do this later. So for now, let's create an empty repository. So this is our newly created repository, and it is blank right now, so it does not have any code. So GitHub here it is showing you some methods where you can push your code to this repository. So let's go to our terminal, or you can, if you are on Windows, you can use your command prompt or git bash. So let's create a new directory where our project will be hosted. So let's call it playing with Git. So mkdir is a command that is used to create a new repository. Let's move inside this directory by using cd. So now we are in the folder that in which we are going to host our project files. So let's first initialize Git in this folder. So we use this command git init. So as soon as we type git init, this repository is now a Git repository. Here it says initialized empty Git repository in this location. So we are provided with the default branch master, and our repository is now initialized for working with Git. So let's add some code to this. So let's create a file as index.html. We can use touch command to create this file. So let's do some code. So we can open this folder in our VS Code using code space dot command. So we have opened our folder in this VS Code. We are currently on our master and we have no code done yet. Let's use some Emmet abbreviations to create the basic template for our HTML. Now we have created our empty Git repository, and we have done some code right in this. So if you can, this repository is currently initialized with Git. you can go to here this git icon and it has already started tracking your changes in the code base. So let's see some next commands we have to do. So let's firstly get remote add origin. So first we have created a local repository, we have created a remote repository. Let's connect these two by using this command get remote add origin. So we will go to this our newly created repository, we will copy this line, get remote add origin. We will again go back to our VS Code, and here we have integrated terminal open, so we will copy and paste this line in the integrated terminal. So yeah, so now we have added our remote repository to this local repository, so both of these are connected right now. Whatever we can later push and pull our changes from this remote repository. So let's see whether this remote is added properly or not. So if we write to this, we can write git remote, and it will show all the list of remotes that is added in this repository. So right now origin is added. So since this is our default repository where we are pushing our changes, so we can call it origin by default. Otherwise it is an alias, you can use any other name. So if you want to view the complete details about your remote, you can use git remote -v command, and it will show the complete path of your repository. Now let's start working in this repository. So working in a git repository can be divided into 3 to 4 parts. The first one we can consider as making changes, where we are updating our code base, we are adding some code, or we are updating some code. So for this we will be using two commands, git add, that is used to add your files to the staging area we discussed earlier, and then another command we will use git commit to save our commit locally and create a snapshot of the code at this instance. Let's try these codes. In our VS Code, suppose we have made these changes, so let's try to add it. So we can write git add space, if you want to commit a specific file, you can write those file names. Otherwise you want to commit all the files in this directory, you can use git add dot. Okay, so now let's commit these changes. Git commit -m. We can write here the commit message. Commit message should be clear and short. It should clearly define what you are doing in this commit. So let's first we have initialized our repository, so let's call it -init initial commit. You can write initial commit simply as well, but just take care, it should be clear. So now all our changes has been committed. We have made some changes in our repository. Okay, so let's make some more changes. Let's call it I am playing with Git. Let's again save it and add and commit it. Let's call it commit message as -add some text. So again we have made two changes in this repository. So let's see our next command. Next we have a command of git stash. So stash is something different. You can call it as an intermediate area that is just behind your working directory. So we know this is our working directory, this is our staging area and local repository. So stash, you can consider it as an additional area that is beyond your working directory also. So it is not included in your local repository, but it is a buffer. You can call it as a buffer where all your temporary changes are saved and later you can utilize it. So let's do some stashing. Okay, so all our changes are saved right now. So let's add some more, make some more changes. This is my stash code. So again, since the last committed stage, we have added some more changes, and it is currently in our working directory. If you use git add here, it will move to our staging area. But here if we use git stash, what will happen, this change is moved from your working directory to the stack. You can call it as a stack, where all the changes you stash will be pushed to the top of stack, and later you can pop it, so you can bring it back. So now our changes has been stashed. So if you write here get stash show, it will show you the changes you have stashed. So here it says index.html is one file change and one insertion. It is stashed right now. So if we want to bring back this stage, we can write here get stash pop, and this change will be bring back to our working directory. So this is how stash works. Another way to do so, you can, if you have git lens installed, you can go to this git lens. Here you will in the repository options you will find stashes, and it will list all the stashes present in your repository. So this all the stuffs we can do this with the GUI also and by the command line also. So I guess we have make some changes in our repository. Let's the second category of our commands we are going to use is inspection. So what inspection commands does, they can be used at any instance of time, and they will show they are used to basically track the what you are doing in your repository. You can check all those stuffs. So for this we have basically three commands. Git stash, it is used to show the current status of your repository. It will show what you have committed, what changes are untracked right now, what changes are in the staging area, and on which branch you are. So this is the role of git stash status, sorry. The second one is git log. It is used to show all the list of commits that are made in this repository. Next we have git diff. It is used to compare any two instances. So you can compare the current state with the previous commit. You can compare two branches also. So let's try these all. Again we will go to our VS Code integrated terminal, and let's so right now we have this index.html is some line that is right now not committed. So let's try git status. It shows our current branch, we are on master, and this file is modified and we have not committed this. So this is status is used to show all the current status of your repository. So now we have one more command, git log. So if you write git log here, it will show all the commits that are made in this repository. So this is our changes. This is the first commit, this is the second commit. It shows all the metadata, like who is the author of this commit, who is the when was this commit made, what was the commit message associated with this commit, and also you will find here this commit ID. It is 40 characters long, SHA1 commit ID, and it is different for every commit. And we also have a short commit ID, which is the first 7 characters of this commit ID. So here we will say head. So head is a pointer which states where your current repository is. So currently we are on this stage and we have this changes committed lastly. So this currently we are on master and our head is also there. This is the concept of head. So git log has one more property, git log -- one line. If you want to see all the history of commit in the short or precise manner, so it will show only the first 7 characters, that is the commit ID, your current head, and just your commit message. So every command has some additional related options related to it, like git log has -- one line property. So for any command you want to see what properties it has, you can simply write the command name and space -h. So it will show all the commands that you can use with this, like this. So another one we have git diff. So if you write here git diff, it will show here the changes that you have made after the previous commit. So it will show all the changes in all your files present. Suppose there are 5 files present, and it will show all the changes in the present in the 5 files. If you want to view only a file specific difference, you can use git diff space your file name. So let's write index.html for now. So it will only show the difference in your file in your current this file. Okay, so even you can compare branches also. So for that you can write git diff space dot and your branch compare your branches also. We will see that later. So let's move forward. So we have reached our next stage where we are undoing some changes. So now we have played with resetting our changes also. So let's move forward. So this was the whole summary of our commands that we have used till now. So firstly we have a working directory, we add our changes, and these changes will be moved to our staging area. we commit our changes, it will move to the repository locally, and we will do this. We will connect with remote later. So if you want to, if you are in the reset, staging area, if you do reset, your changes will be moved to the working directory. So let's move forward. Let's, our next aspect is branching. So we have a gist of branching. So branching is something like you have created a separate working tree from the current state. So suppose you are currently on this master branch, and we want to a separate working tree for this feature one branch. You can check out a new branch from this master right here, and your feature one branch will be independent of your master branch, and later you can merge it. Same for the feature 2, and you can create any number of branches in your repository, and you can create a branch from any commit. So suppose you are on this commit, you can create a new branch from here. If you are on this commit, you can create a new branch from here. So this was brief of branching. So let's do some branching in our code. So branching has some major these 4 commands that are commonly used. First one is get branch, branch name. It is used to create a new branch. So next we have get checkout to branch. If we want to move to one branch from, if we are currently on some branch and we want to move to another branch, we use get checkout. So, and combination of these two, get checkout hyphen b branch. This is command is the combination of these two. So what it does, it creates a new branch as well as move to this branch. So let's play with it. We will again go to our back to our VS Code terminal. So currently all our changes are committed right now. Let's create a new branch from here. We can use get branch. Let's call it feature 1. Okay, before it, if you use get branch command, it will show the list of all the branches that are presently in this repository. So currently we are on we have only one branch, master, and the branch that has star before it, asterisk before it, it will be your current branch. So currently we are on master and we have only one branch. If you type here let's create a new branch called as feature 1. So now we must have 2 branches. Let's check it by get branch. So yeah, it says current branch is master and we have one more branch, that is feature 1. So let's move to our feature 1 branch by using get checkout. Our branch name, that is feature 1. So currently we are on feature 1 branch. So whenever we are creating a branches, the branch will be reflected from our current code base. So currently we are on master, and if you create a new branch from our master, the feature 1 branch will have initially the same code that is present right now in our master. Okay, so at an instance of time, if you create a branch, you will find the code that is presently in your working directory committed in your next branch. Okay, so if some changes are unsaved here, you have not committed these changes, and you check out a branch, then these unsaved commits will also move to your new branch. So we have one more method of creating a branch, that is get checkout hyphen b. So as we said, this is a combination of checking out and creating a new branch. If we create a new branch, get checkout hyphen b, then the new branch will be created and we will move to this new branch also. So let's call it feature 2. And we have one more flag in our branching hyphen t, that is going to track the changes. So if I make the if I create a new branch from this feature 1 branch, and the code of feature 1 branch will be copied to the feature 2 branch. But if I want the code of master branch to be copied, I can use hyphen t and here the branch name that of which code I want to copy in this code. So currently we will do this. So currently we are in a feature 1 branch. Let's make some changes here. Let's call it this is feature 1. Let's save it and commit it. Let's commit it with the name hyphen add feature 1 because we have added feature 1 in this commit. Okay. So if we are currently on this feature 1 branch and we have this changes extra than our master branch. If you go back to our master branch, this code will not be present there because we have make these changes in our feature 1 branch and it is independent of our master branch for now. Okay, if you go back to our feature 1 branch, you will find this change again here. So this is how branching works in Git. So let's create a new branch, Git feature 2. And let's make it from our a master branch. So it says branch feature 2 has been set up to track local branch master, because we given this -t flag. So currently our master 2 and feature 2 branch are at same stage, and feature 1 is one commit that is not present in master branch. So if you check the git log again here, it says your feature 2 branch is here, your master branch is also here, and you are currently in this position. So this is your head, and it is not tracking your feature 1 branch. If we go again to your feature 1 branch and again do git log here, it will show your master branch is here and feature 2 branch is also here. It has these changes latest, and this commit, it is present in feature 1 branch and you are presently here. This head signifies the current pointer, and this change is not present in your master and feature 2 branch. So this is the how branching works. Okay, so let's move forward. So I hope we have covered all the aspects of our branching. One thing remaining, so these are some additional stuffs we generally do in our repository. So first one is head. So head is our current pointer to the basically it shows where our current we are currently pointing to, we are on which branch, and which was our last commit. Okay. So as you can see in the git log here, if you again go to your terminal and type git log, it will show this head position. So head is your current location. So it means that currently we are on this branch, and this branch is currently pointing to this commit. So next we have ignore files.gitignore. This is an important aspect while working with Git. So suppose your project has some files that are consisting of some credentials, or you can say anything, keys or passwords that you have used in your project, but you don't want a public to use this for under name of yours. So for this you have to make some changes so that these changes cannot be accessed by public directly. So for this Git provides a feature of Git ignore, that as the name signifies, you are ignoring your files in Git. So if you add the files to your git.gitignore file, these changes will not be committed to your remote repository. So let's move to our master branch. Okay, so currently we are in master branch. If we see the files, we have index.html. Let's create a new file here called as keys.txt. So this is the file where I am where I am storing all of my keys or application credentials. So let's write just some random code here and save it. So this is our keys.txt. Currently it is showing untracked. It means it is going to be tracked by our Git, but we don't want it to be tracked because it has some confidential information we don't want to show to our public. So for this we will create again a new file .gitignore. We can use this GUI here, or you can use touch command by CMD. So let's create a file .gitignore. In the .gitignore file, we will go and type all the names of files or folders we want to commit. We don't want to commit. So let's write here keys.txt and save it. So our keys.txt will no longer be tracked. You can see here also by this keys.txt is disabled in the VS Code GUI. If you again check the status, it will show only .gitignore is there to be committed. It is not tracking out in keys.txt. So in the .gitignore file, you can use patterns also. So suppose there are log files in your project, you don't want to commit your log file, so you can write **.log. If you use **.log, it will ignore all the files that has the extension .log. Okay, so yeah, so this is about ignoring files. We have this .ignore file it will consist the name of all the files and folders we don't want to commit to our Git. So let's add and commit it. Okay, so let's move forward. Markdown is, you can say it as a language of Git or language of web also, because it is a lightweight format or syntax to writing text on our formatting text on our web. So it provides all the features. You can use formatting. You can format your text any how you want. You can add images, links, tables. All these stuffs can be done using Markdown. So you must notice that every Git repository has a README file, that is readme.md, and it has all the documentation related to the project. So we are also going to create a readme file. So we'll go to our VS Code terminal and create a new file called as readme.md. So this md extension denotes that this is a markdown file, and we can write the markdown syntax here. So in the markdown syntax, first we have one attribute, that is hash. Hash is used for headings. So if you use one hash, it will be similar to your h1 tag in HTML. If you use two hash, it will be similar to h2 in HTML. And similarly, we have six. You can write up to 6 headings. So let's make this. This is a heading. Similarly, for if you use two hash, it will be you can write this is a subheading. And if you don't use anything, you just write text, it will be a simple text. This is a simple text. If you want to add links to your file, your readme file, you can add links by this square brackets and then followed by curly braces. So in the square bracket, you can write the text that is used to display to your user. So let's write it, click here. And here you can write the link that you want the user to redirect on clicking this link. So let's call it https github.com. If you want to add the images in your readme file, you can also do this by using square brackets followed by a circular bracket. In the square bracket, you can write your before this you can type exclamation mark. Here you can write the alternate text, and here you paste the address of your image. So right now we don't have an image, so you can type the URL of your image and it will be displayed as an image. Yes, so next we have block code. You can simply write this greater than symbol and type this, type any text. This is a block text. If you want to write code in your readme file, you can if you want a one-line code, you can simply type this backtick. This is a short code, or whatever code you are writing. You can use this for one-line codes. If you want to use multiple lines code, you can use this 3 backticks and write your code snippet here. And again finish it with 3 backticks, and after the initial 3 backticks, you can write here the language you are if you want syntax highlighting. So let's say it is a JavaScript code. Yeah. So next, if you want list in your code, you can use this hyphen for unordered list. This is unordered list. Or you can use this is item 1, same for item 2. If you want nesting of lists, you can simply type tab here, and it will be indented after 2 spaces, and this will be a nested list. So this is nested item 1. If you want unordered list, you can simply type 1 dot space unordered item 1, same as unordered list. Next, if you want to add tables in your readme, you can simply type this symbol space your column name, col1, col2, enter, and you can use this symbol, then hyphen hyphen hyphen, then again this, then hyphen hyphen hyphen. So this is generally used to define your height of the system. Next you can write here your all the properties. So let's call it cell 1, cell 2. Similarly you can create a table. Okay, so when you are working on with readme files, it is advisable always install these two extensions. So you will go to your extensions here. If you type the markdown, it will show all the extensions available related to this. So the first one is this markdown lint by David Ansoon. You can install this, and another one is this markdown all-in-one. So these will provide the syntax, highlighting, and your format your code. All the steps are done by these extensions. So let's save this file. If you view your folder, so after installing these extensions, you will notice here this preview icon where you can click, and it will display the preview of your readme file here, how it look in the repository. So this is how our readme file, this is your code, raw code, and this is your output. So we are done with the markdown. Let's add and commit it. Git add and git commit add. We have added our readme. Okay, so after markdown we have one more concept, alias. So alias, you can think it of as a nickname that you give to your commands. So suppose we are continuously writing commands in our Git, so they are quite lengthy. So in order to shorten them and increase the productivity and speed of coding, we can use our alias. So for alias, we can do this stuff. We can go to our VS Code terminal, and here we can type git config. We want is globally across all users, so hyphen global alias dot. Here you have to write the short nickname you want to give to your command. So suppose I want to make an alias for git add, so I can write a GA, short form for git add, and here you have to write the full command. So you want git add to be replaced with GA. So now if I do GA here, it will be in GA space dot for file names. So it will be same. It will work same as you are working with git add space dot. So this is how you can create alias. You can create alias for all the commands also, for commit, for branching, all the stuffs you can create alias. Okay, so let's move forward. So now we have done quite much of stuff in our local repository. Let's try to connect it with our remote repository and push our changes to the remote. So we basically use these three commands for this. So first one is git fetch. Git fetch is used to pull your changes from your sorry, it is written wrong here. Git fetch is used to pull your changes from the remote to your local, but it is not affecting your existing branches. So suppose if you pull master, it will create a origin/master and put all your changes in the remote to your origin/master branch, but will not affect your current branch. Next we have git push. It is used to push all your changes from your local repository to your remote repository. Git pull is used to pull your changes from the remote repository to your local repository. So git pull is basically git fetch. It fetches all the changes from the remote and plus merge, and it merges your changes to your current branch. So let's try it. We'll go to our VS Code terminal. So currently we are on master, and we have pretty much of stuffs here. We have index.html, readme file, .gitignore file, and this keys.txt, which is untried, so it should not be committed. So let's try to push our changes to our remote. So we have already added our remote in the starting. So let's we can do here git push origin. Origin is the alias we give to our remote. So whatever alias you have given, you can use it here. And here we have to write our branch. So currently we are on master, we are pushing on master, so we can simply write master. And if you are on different branch in local and want to push your changes to different branch on your origin, you can use here your local branch colon your new branch you want to push to the master remote. So for now let's do it with master. Okay, so our changes are now pushed to the master. Let's go to our remote repository. So this is our remote repository we created initially, and it does not have any code right now. Let's refresh it, and you will see this code is we just pushed our code to this repository. So it says here .gitignore file is there, readme file is here, index.html file is there, and this is the readme file is the default file that GitHub shows directly below your repository. So this is our formatted readme. So GitHub has some features in the repository. So this is this tab shows all our code presented here. Here you can see all the branches. So right now we have pushed only one branch, master. So it is showing your master branch only. Here this is your last commit on this repository. These commits are file specific commits. So for .gitignore file, last commit was this. For readme file, last commit was this. If you see here, click here on this 4 commits, it will show all the history of your commits you have done till now in this repository. Along with this, here you can write your description about your repository. You can create readme is here. You can here it shows the languages you have used in your file in your repository. So it automatically tracks we have used HTML 100% of our code. Next, this GitHub Actions, it is recently added to GitHub. So it is basically a CI continuous integration part. So it provides basic workflows for various stuffs. Here you can see it is for Azure Web App, Amazon ECS. So many workflows are pre-built, and you can create your custom workflows also. So basically it covers all the workflows related to languages. After this is the projects tab. Projects it is used to organize your issues and project board. So here if you create a project with this repository, so you can enter its name. So let's call it test for now, and here you can add a column. You can use a to do in progress. So it's just like your working board where you can track your issues, whether it is to do, it is in progress, or it is completed. So it is usually used to manage your project. So next, wiki, you can create pages related to documentation of your project. In the security tab, you will see all these stuffs. You can check it later. Insights, it shows you all the insights of your repository, like how many contributors are there, what is the code pattern. This is your network graph. So network graph is something when you are working in teams or with branches, it will show all the network from which commit, which branch was originated, all these stuffs. So if you go to our settings part, it has basic settings. It has basic templates, like you can create this repository as template and later use this template to create a new repository. We will just do it. So all these stuffs are from settings. You can use GitHub Pages. So suppose this, if you use GitHub Pages, this repository will be hosted with your username .github.io and / your repository name. So this will be a path for your repository. Next, these are security related actions. You can delete your repository, you can archive, transfer ownership. Another options we have here are manage access. So if you want anyone to collaborate on your code, you can use you can invite him, and once they accept your invitation, they can collaborate on this repository along with you. So these are some more actions related to this repository. So for time being, let's move forward. So we have pushed our changes to our remote and looked at some features of GitHub. So next we have two more ways to create a new repository. It is a cloning. So cloning refers to making your changes. So clone is simple. It is making clone of your remote repository to your local repository. So in the initial method we created a local repository, we created a remote repository and connected these two. But in cloning, we are just clone our remote repository to our local, and origin will be pre-added from the URL we are copying. So let's try to clone this repository itself. So in the code here, you will find this option, the URL of this repository. So you can copy it. Let's move to our terminal, and in the terminal you can let's move to our home directory. You can write here git clone space your repository, your URL. So I want to clone this repository to this folder. So it will basically create a new folder, playing with git, pre-adds this origin in the and initialize it, the repository with git, and clone all the changes of our remote repository to this. And since already we have playing with git directory here, so if we want, we can type here the optionally directory name, and it will create a new directory with this name and clone the changes to this. So let's call it playing with the git space clone. So if we move to playing with git space clone and view the contents, so it already has .git folder created, and it has all the files that we cloned from our remote repository. So this is another method of creating new repository. Now we don't have to use git init here because our remote is already added. If you check, you can check it by using git remote -v, and this remote is already added here. So now we have looked to the cloning also. So let's see one more method of creating a new repository. Templating. So what is a templating? As the name suggests, it is a pre-written some code snippet which we can directly use to create a new project. So if you go back again to our this repository, in the settings tab, you will find here this checkbox, template repository. So if you click this, then this repository will become our template repository. So again, if you want to create a new repository, and here in the top it shows the option of repository template. So if we have one or more template pre-stored in our we have make one or more code as our template, we can select here directly from this. So let's call it this playing with git. So this is our template. Here it shows the option of include all branches, and types here let's type here new branch, a new repository name. Let's call it playing with git template starter. Let's call it this. So this is a similar process, but the thing is that all our code from this template repository will be pre-copied to our new repository. So let's create this repository also. So this is our new repository. It has one commit, that is initial commit. You notice we have 3 commits there, and here it combines all the commit in our initial commit. So this is how we can use templates to create our new repository. Okay, let's move forward. Next, so we are basically done with all the working we generally use in our Git projects. So we have make some changes, we have inspected, we have connected our remote, and we have seen 3 methods of cloning our repository or creating a new repository. So let's move to a new topic, Git workflows. So workflows are basically a set of rules that we can use while working with Git. So there are many workflows in Git. So let's have a look on them one by one. So the first one is basic. Basic workflow says that everything will be on your master branch. So you have created a repository. You are continuously committing in your master branch without any branching. So this is the most basic type of workflow, and it is generally used by many people. But always try to work in branches because all the benefits are discussed already. So this is the most basic type of workflow. Let's move to next workflow. This is feature branch. So in feature branch, we are currently on a master branch. If we want to work on a feature, we simply create a new branch from the latest master, work on this feature, and merge the feature branch into our master. Same for this feature too. We create a new branch, we work on our features and merge into master. So here it says one feature, one fix, one update. equal to one branch. So one branch must have only one feature code or one fixed code or one update code, whatever you are doing. Next Git workflow is Git flow. So what it says, you are on master, you create a new branch, develop, and in the develop branch you create your feature branches and merge your feature branches in your develop branches. So once we are done with the develop branch, you merge your develop branch into your master branch. So this is quite different, and it is also mostly used workflow. Next we have fork and clone. So this is basically used while working in teams. So in this case, there is a central repository hosted on organization, and all the developers working on them have their own forks, and they work on their local. So this is a triangular cycle type. So this is your local repository, this is your remote repository, and this is the repository which you forked. So it is a pull, push, and pull request cycle. So basically, if you are using fork and clone in Teams, you are using this workflow along with any one of the previous. So internally you are using this workflow and you are using one of the previous for working in these two parts. Okay, so next we have one more workflow, that is custom. So what is custom? You can create any workflow as your wish. So if it does not have any set of rules or parameter, if you want to work on some X branch, you can make X branch as your workflow. So basically it is undecided as per your organization needs, whatever fits suits your needs. Alright, so we have explored pretty much. If you want to explore further, you can refer to these useful resources. So first one is GitDocs. It is the official documentation for our Git. So next we have GitHub cheat sheet. So you can go to the site. All the links of these resources will be provided in the description. So you can go to this site. It will show you a basic GitHub cheat sheet, which has all the commands you can use for as a cheat right now. Next, we have a visual cheat sheet. It is developed by NDB Software. You can go to this site, and here you can. This is a stash, workspace, index, local repository. You can click on any part. You will show all the commits related to it. You can click on commit, and it will show all the details regarding it. You can use this also. Next, we have GitHub guides. So these are some guides that are officially sponsored by GitHub. So you can see here, understanding the GitHub flow, getting started with GitHub pages. So you can use all these guides to explore more about Git. So along with this, we have more power packed content waiting for you in our next session of the series, where we will discuss about how all the working happens in teams. When you are working in teams, how you collaborate on your code. So till then, keep learning, keep exploring, keep playing with Git. Thanks a lot.